Hi, everyone. Okay, so some organizational details. Let me, first, before I forget, let's do the smart attendance. And I thought I had that set up here, and I'm trying to find where the smart attendance is. I don't want to shut down something. I'm trying to, of course, save the file from the last class. So go to CUK.ac.kr and we go here to English, to Cyber Campus, and then we go to Production United Institutions, and then we go to Attendance, and we go to Smart Attendance, and your number is 738. 738 is your Smart Attendance number, so let me go back to chatting and put in 738 in your attendance number. Okay, and so we're now moving into the last half or third of the course, and so I have prepared your final exam, and your final exam format is the same format as your midterm paper because we're trying to help you develop your English language skills, and so we want to work with you in your writing and your speaking. So we have the same format for the final exam as that we had for the let me see if I can find the, did I open it up here? Yeah, this is it. Okay, so this is your final exam assignment, your final exam take-home paper assignment. So you can use and cite information from all of the reading material from this semester, but use and cite information from at least three different chapters. So the question that you shall critique is the following. The U.S. Electoral College system for electing U.S. president is anti-democratic. And I would like you to critique that statement. Of course, those people who support Donald Trump in his election as president in 2016, when Hillary Clinton got almost 3 million more votes than Donald Trump, they probably would typically like the Electoral College system because they like Donald Trump. So one can't just say, well, it's obvious that the Electoral College system is anti-democratic. Again, one of the, I think, important skills to develop as a political analyst is to try to empathize. That doesn't mean sympathize or agree with, but you put yourself in the shoes of the different people you're trying to analyze. So what is the argument that the supporters of Donald Trump would say that the Electoral College outcome that gave the presidency to Donald Trump in 2016, despite winning 3 million votes fewer than Hillary Clinton, that this is democratic, that this is good, that this is not in violation of the principles of liberal democracy and human rights and civil and political justice and civil and political rights. This is good. They have an argument. They must have an argument, right? Because it's human nature that I want to feel good about what I advocate, what I want in this world. I want Donald Trump to win. I want Donald Trump to be president. He's probably going to run again, by the way, well, he'll probably announce at the end of this year whether or not he's going to run for president again. And I think it's almost definite he's definitely going to run for president again. And so I have to appeal to you and the rest of the world, at least the Americans, to support Donald Trump. You might not be convinced, but I like the Electoral College system and because Donald Trump became president because of the Electoral College system. And I might feel very strongly about that. So that's your task. The American Political Institution take-home final exam paper assignment is to critique the following statement. The U.S. Electoral College system for electing U.S. president is anti-democratic. And so this is just some explanation here. Let me put down this microphone. The U.S. federalism, together with the U.S. Constitution separation of powers between legislative, executive, and judicial branches of the U.S. federal government, was intended to protect against tyranny by the occupants of the branches of government over the U.S. citizenry. U.S. federalism and separation of powers therefore aimed to create a system of political checks and balances among the three branches. So U.S. federalism includes, right, the allocated powers between the federal government and the state governments. And you read about that at the beginning of the semester in terms of dual federalism, new federalism, cooperative federalism, during the 20th century, the cooperative federalism, and then the new federalism that emerged in the later part of the 20th century. That means the relationship between the state governments, Ohio, California, Texas, Mississippi, Florida, and the federal government, and the separation of powers of the federal government between the judicial branch and legislative branch and executive branches was supposed to create a system of checks and balances to avoid tyranny, oppression by unpopular groups of people that are unpopular, at least for a period of time. So the opposition to Donald Trump claimed that his election as US president the opposition to Donald Trump claimed that his election as US president tested the strength of this protection against tyranny, that Donald Trump was in fact a threat to liberty, that he was a threat to American liberal democracy. Trump supporters claim Trump opposes the agenda of American elitist globalizers who promote their visions of global welfare at the expense of American national welfare. So that has been the articulation or expression of those defenders and supporters of Donald Trump, that Donald Trump and the movement he represents are fighting these globalizers, these globalists that are concerned about the well-being of Korea and Africa and Europe at the expense of the needs and interests of the American people, at least those American people that are not like Professor Ben and the students studying at international universities. Working class Americans, that they're being sacrificed to allow America's friends to export their products from South Korea and Latin America and Japan and even China to America, destroying American economic enterprises who can't compete with those repressed cheap labor coming from that is provided in Mexico and China and other countries, and that Donald Trump is fighting the agenda of these American elite globalizers like the Clintons and their supporters who promote their visions of global welfare at the expense of American national welfare. Okay, these are very general, broad statements, right? So once again, like with the midterm paper, your first draft is due on 4th of June and put okay, but the same format as in the midterm paper. And keep in mind, you can use and cite information from all of the readings for the semester, okay? But make sure you use and cite information from at least 3 different chapters, And then, so you'll submit that draft on Cyber Campus, and then I'll write comments on them and send them back to you. And we will then meet to talk about my comments, either in my office or on Zoom. And you have a choice about whether or not you want to do it on Zoom or not. Keep in mind that I think, by the way, that well, starting in a couple weeks, we're going to all be meeting in class again, although we will all have to be wearing masks. But during the individual conference sessions, you can still meet with me individually in my office or meet with me on Zoom. So, okay, so let's go back here to the, what did I just do? Sorry about that. Go back to the did I close it? Oh, no. Okay, so that's I'll put this on the Cyber Campus, and so that's your midterm assignment, your final paper assignment. All right, and also just to remind you that you should sign up for a debate. You should sign up for a debate to do an in-class debate. So go to My Drive, and you go here, and then you click on My Drive, and you can see the place where you go to sign up for the debate. And you can see here that we're running out of time here. So if you haven't signed up for debate, you should do so. Anais has, and each you young have, but the others in the class, you need to do that too. And that's, again, part of the grade for this course. Okay? And yeah. I sent the link to the emails I've been sending you all of the other. Okay, well, I'll try again. I mean, I don't know why you didn't receive it, but this is all part of the wonder of technology. So let me think about how to do that. I'll send it again, but I will try to figure out how to send it to you, everybody, separately so that you people can sign up. Yeah? I guess I can. I mean, I sent you the, I tried to send everybody a link to the email, but you know, it maybe went to your spam folders or whatever. So, okay, I will do that. Make sure I don't forget to do that after the class today. And we go then to, the Electoral College. And of course, there's been a lot of news and reports about this. Here you see, this is from 2019. It says here, well, let me go back to the Wikipedia entry, because Wikipedia is a place to start for getting basic information. It's not an academic source, but you can begin to read what's in Wikipedia to get some basic information. So, efforts to reform the United States Electoral College. And you can see that it was adopted as part of the Constitution in 1789. And, you know, just to remind you of what happened with the U.S. presidential election. 2016. That, yeah, Hillary Clinton got almost 3 million more votes than Donald Trump, but Donald Trump became president because he got a majority of the Electoral College votes. He got more than 270 votes, so he became Electoral College. Through the Electoral College, he became president. And he's counting on this again to play an important role. If you look at, for example, the U.S. presidential election for 2020, let me see if I can find, it's not going to just basically, I have to type it in again. Oh yeah, I gotta make sure I'm sharing the screen so everybody can see it. Go to share screen, go here. So, again, here was the electoral 2016 Wikipedia entry. So you can see the difference in the popular vote, but Donald Trump became president. And then in 2020, Joe Biden, of course, got the majority of electoral college votes. He got almost 7 million votes more, well, more than 7 million votes than he received. But the claim is made that there were 70,000 votes that basically determined the outcome of this election. And that's highlighted in some references in the reading that we have for this week and the weeks going forward. That if you click on these state elections, like for example, the Pennsylvania election, that he barely, look at the difference here. So he got all the electoral college votes and with Kamala Harris as his vice president running mate, Black and Caribbean and Asian American all together, that he got maybe about 80,000 votes more than Trump. And if he can shift that by 80,000 votes, then he might not have won this and it could have gone to Trump. The claim is, you see 7 million vote difference. Well, overall, when you look at the total count, 7 million votes difference. But actually, if a total of 70,000 votes had been redistributed in Georgia, here, let's look at Georgia, that, look, he got 12,000 votes more than Donald Trump. If you look at Arizona, no, that's the wrong one, sorry, that's Utah. Here's Arizona. That Biden won, but by 1,000 votes. Well, sorry, not 9,000 votes. That if you add up these different elections, that it could have gone to the Electoral College. That and this is again more and more complicated, but that there could have been a tie with 269 electoral college votes going to Trump and 269 going to Biden, nobody getting 270. In which case, according to the 12th Amendment of the US Constitution, adopted at the beginning of the 19th century, then the election would have been determined by the House of Representatives of the US Congress. Not by all of them voting, but by each state in the House of Representatives getting one vote. So each state getting one vote. California, one vote. Little Vermont gets one vote. Little Wyoming population gets one vote. And that since the Republican Party tends to dominate more states than the Democratic Party, that Donald Trump would have won. And this supposedly happened in 1824. And it's the last time it happened. That he became president through this procedure that I just outlined. That nobody got a majority of the Electoral College votes. And so the US House of Representatives decided it through this one state, one vote procedure. And he became president even though he got more of the popular vote, Andrew Jackson. And this happened in 1824, and this was adopted according to the 12th Amendment, which was adopted it was adopted in 1803, 1804, right after the beginning of the United States. So nobody paid attention to this until now because of Trump. So again, just to show you the complexity of the Electoral College system. And there have been efforts or discussions about reforming the Electoral College long before Trump ran for president. Back in 2000, Al Gore got 500,000 more votes. Then George W. Bush, but you can see he got about 500,000 more votes than George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. That gave him 271 Electoral College votes. And he became president because he got a majority of the Electoral College, with a particular focus on Florida. That in Florida, he got, look at the difference here. About not even 500 votes more than Al Gore. And so he won, even though he got just 500 more votes than Al Gore, and got the Electoral College vote. And you know who the governor of California was in 2000? Who was the governor of California? Does anybody happen to know? His brother, Jeb. Jeb Bush was the brother of George W. Bush, and Jeb Bush was governor. And so there's always been this suspicion that somehow the Republicans somehow were able to push the outcome in such a way that, and of course, when he was president, then the 9/11 attacks happened. He's the one that declared the invasion of Iraq, and then of Afghanistan, and then Iraq, and so on. And then, so let me see, Jeb Bush. Yeah, so Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida at the time, and it doesn't really. So the point I'm trying to make is that this discussion about reforming the Electoral College has been going on for 22 years now. And if we go back to efforts to reform the United States Electoral College, there's a nice Wikipedia entry on it. There's been discussions for years about this. And it has never gone forward to change the Constitution to abolish or reform the Electoral College. It gives you some efforts or some discussion about these efforts, and they've all failed. And of course, they've intensified and became much more intense as a consequence of the 2000 election. So the latest effort was this this effort, which maybe has the most likelihood of being successful, that is an initiative for each state in the United States to pass a law in Montana, in Colorado, in Ohio, in New York, in California, that says that the winner of the electoral college election, the winner of the presidential election in California, all of the delegates to the electoral college from California, 54, will go to the candidate running for president who wins a majority or wins most of, or plurality, I should say, the most electoral, wins the most popular votes. And the claim is that once you add up enough 270 of these electoral college votes of these different states, that it automatically come into force. And so far, it says that these states that have approved this, you can see the ones in green, California, Oregon, Washington, New York State, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware, Colorado, New Mexico, Hawaii. They have a total of 195 electoral college votes. And they all tend to be democratically oriented. Illinois, Barack Obama's home state. But these are Republican states: Texas, Florida, Montana, Idaho. And it's highly doubtful that any of these states are going to ever approve this proposal, which needs to reach 270 total for it to have an effect. This does not require a constitutional amendment, right? Because each state supposedly decides on its own how it determines the outcome of the presidential election in the state for each presidential election. So it doesn't require a constitutional amendment. It's not clear that that is constitutionally legal. Some people have claimed that this National Popular Vote Interstate Compact is questionable in terms of its constitutionality, that somebody would attempt to sue and take the case to the federal courts and to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court might rule against it as not really being in accordance with the US Constitution. But that's the closest we have gotten so far to changing the electoral college system, so that the winner of the popular vote becomes the president rather than the winner of the electoral college. And it's not yet been tested in court. And this began particularly after the 2000 election in which Al Gore was defeated by George W. Bush. So 22 years later, and we're stuck at 195 electoral college votes. So here is it says here, this is from May 2019, so this is 3 years ago. On Tuesday, Nevada became the latest state to pass a bill that would grant its electoral votes to whomever wins the popular vote across the country, not just in Nevada. The movement is the brainchild of John Koza, a co-founder of National Popular Vote, an organization that is working to eliminate the influence of the Electoral College. If Nevada's governor signs the bill, the state will become the 15th, plus the District of Columbia, to join an interstate compact of states promising to switch to the new system. Those states, including Nevada, have a total of 195 electoral votes. The pact would take effect once enough states have joined to guarantee the national winner 270 electoral votes ensuring election. And again, highlighting the 2016 election, in all, 5 presidents in American history have won office while losing the popular vote, including 2 of the last 3, Mr. Trump and Mr. Bush. And that's where we're stuck right now. And yeah, this is from, again, May 2019. So we're stuck at 195. It looks like Nevada did approve it. This is Nevada here, but I don't see Nevada. It's not colored green. This is Nevada. Las Vegas is located. This is Utah. This is Arizona. This is New Mexico. So Nevada hasn't approved this. So my question to you, again, your final exam is to remind you what the final exam is. The U.S. Electoral College system for electing U.S. president is anti-democratic. And back to the, so do you think the current U.S. Electoral College system for electing U.S. president is not going to change? Do you strongly agree, neutral cannot decide, disagree, strongly disagree? So let me get you thinking about your final exam paper by asking you to do an in-class exercise and